Brad Williams, Frugal Finance, some of the schemers in the world of finance, because most people just don't understand numbers. So let me show you an example of the tactics, something like, well, I won't mention any names, but they're located on the West Coast and they're big and they're constantly being fined for their sales practices. I'm not going to point any fingers, but you're going to see crap like this from the large banks and from financial consultants and you know who. With that being said, buying an annuity versus buying a bank certificate of deposits. What's the difference here? Well, let's say you're 65 and considering whether it's worth purchasing an annuity from an insurance company. I didn't mention any insurance companies because we all know they're all scammers. Here's the deal. For a lump sum payment of 10 grand, the insurance company promises to give you $1,000 annually for as long as you live. Now, if you can earn an 8% annual interest rate in a bank account and expect to live until you're 80, you might wonder if buying the annuity is a smart move. Well, where would you start? One, you're 65, you're looking at retiring. Well, not on a grand, but you kind of get the gist here. The whole idea is once you're retired, you want some certainty, and that would be a certain cash flow in addition to your retirement and your Social Security, what have you. How would you go about figuring this out? Well, I'm going to show you how. To figure this out, you typically calculate the present value of the annuity payments and compare it to the 10 grand cost. I know, you're saying, what are you talking about, Williams? Assuming it's a regular annuity, you can go back to the previous session where I was talking about annuities, and you can use that formula. Assuming it's a regular annuity with 15 payments of $1,000 starting at age 65. The present value of these payments, discounted 8% annually, comes out to be $8,559.48. This means you'd need to live past a certain age for this annuity to be worth the initial investment. So it's only worth 8 grand. They want you to put up 10 grand. Cost of the annuity is 10 grand. Annual receipts, $1 grand. Number of payments, 15. The CD interest rate, 8%. Present value of the annuity payments, 8,559. So we want 1,000, 1 minus 1 plus that 8%, 15 divided by 0.8. So it's 8,559. That's clearly less than 10 grand, right? So if you put 10 grand into a CD, you know you're going to be making more than this. Net present value is equal 8,559 minus 10 grand equals 1,440. No, you would not buy this annuity. It's a negative net present value. It should be 10 grand minus 8,559, and this should be negative 1,440. What is the implied annuity factor? 556. How many years would I have to live to make this annuity worthwhile, earning 8% per year? 20.91 years. So you'd have to live to 85, 86. How do we figure this out? Number of periods, 8%, 1,010. It's that simple. And then here we have a rate, 15 years, and in the end, your money's only earning 5.56%, and they're scraping the difference. Because if a CD is 8%, they're arbitraging this. Because they could simply take your 10 grand, throw it into a CD, make 8%, earn 8 minus 556 to a little less than 2.5%, and let's say this is $1 billion. Collectively amongst all the other people that they have suckered, you could see the practices there. Shady, shady, shady. And you don't know the difference. You're happy as can be thinking, yeah, I've got some guaranteed income. If a bank offered you an annual interest rate of 5.5%, you could stash away 10 grand today and then withdraw 1,000 each year for the next 15 years. If we twist the scenario a bit and imagine parking 8,559 in an account with an 8% annual interest rate, you'd still be able to match those 15-year withdrawals of 1,000 each. Crunching the numbers, that leaves us with a net present value of negative 1440.52 when we subtract the initial 10,000 investment. Now, to figure out when this annuity starts making sense, we need to find out how many years it would take for the investment net present value to hit zero. In simpler terms, after some math, it turns out the magic number is 21 years. In simpler terms, if you hang around 21 years instead of the initial 15, the insurance company ends up shelling out an implied interest rate of 8% annually. So they just hope you don't make it to 80. On to growing annuities. Picture this, a cash flow that keeps growing at a steady rate over a set period. If we label the current cash flow as A and the anticipated growth rate as G, the timeline for a growing annuity looks something like this. Remember, for it to qualify as a growing annuity, the growth rate in each period must match the rate from the period before. Discounting. In most cases, the present value of a growing annuity can easily be calculated using the following formula. Growing annuity is equal to A, 1 plus G, 1 minus, and we've covered this. What we're looking at doing is adding this 1 plus G into this hypothetical. Here, a company is looking to buy a copier. The cost is 10 grand. Should you pay 10 grand cash today or finance the copier for 5 years at 12% with 3,000 annual payments? The answer, well, here's the formula. A, 3 grand, 12 grand, 5 and 6. Those are the variables. And then what are we going to do? We're going to use this formula here. What we're looking at is tying in C46, which is our 3 grand. That means our annual payments. And then we're just going to plug and chug the rest of this information. And then our present value is going to be 10814. We use this present value formula or this formula. That's all we're doing is we're looking at this present value versus what? So now we're looking at present value C47. Our rate is going to be this. Number of periods 4. Our payment is going to be C46. 3 grand, 0. And then remember this last type. This is going to be the end of the year. So we got 10205. And the question you're asking is, what is this 10814? The present value of making $3,000 annual payments. End of period. Just want to make sure we're clear here. This is the 10814 end of period. Remember, we have 0 and then we have this beginning of the period, the 1. This means we're making periods at the beginning of the year and this is present value at the end of the year. Question is, do you pay cash or do you pay annual payments? If we pay up front 10 grand, if we extend this and pay 3,000 annual payments, it's going to be 10205 if we pay at the beginning of the year or 10814. So the effective interest rate on this is going to be about 13%, and this is going to be probably 13.5%. That is frugal finance. That is why give something away when you can pocket this yourself. In perspective, change the numbers. If this was a $5 million copier, look at the numbers, okay? It all scales accordingly, and that's the deal. That's what's so unique about finance is the other side's earning this money and not doing anything. You, on the other hand, could be putting this money and earning the differential. Brad Williams, Frugal Finance. Thanks for watching.